Howdy, y'all.
Hey, Elasticians, we're back.
Yeah.
Today is a really fun topic. We're going to talk about allocation health, and it's a nice and easy way to know if your cluster is healthy and doing well. We've created two deployments, one which represents the issue, and the other where we're going to replicate the issue with you live. So, Steph, it's Monday. You had a great weekend. You go to click into your deployment. Everything was so nice on Friday. It was a really good way to end the week. Oh no, your cluster is now unhealthy. And that's really upsetting for a number of reasons, but most importantly because it's Monday.
Yeah.
So when you see this unhealthy alert, it's pretty easy to jump over and get a clear view of what's happening under the Health tab. We click on the Health tab. We are actually going to see two warnings, well, two notes, notifications, whatever you want to call them. World your oyster. The first is critical, and this is the most important one that we want to highlight. This is the reason the cluster is unhealthy. This cluster has one unavailable primary shard. If you clicked in, it's going to show you your affected capacities, ingest, and search. Very important for our happiness as Elasticsearch users.
Yeah.
General troubleshooting, how to fix options. It's going to take you to diagnose and assign shards, and you can read a little bit more about that. The other thing I want to highlight, this happens a lot, um, the warning doesn't necessarily mean your cluster is unhealthy. It's giving you insight into things that can be addressed. And that's a common catch for people. They get really uncomfortable when they see a warning. So if you see critical, concern is healthy.
Critical.
If
Yeah.
you see warnings, don't panic. We can just go and read through everything that's happening. All right. Now I want to
I
take us over.
can add on to that, like exactly what Annie just said. The warning is a result of the critical. So just as she was saying, right, like go resolve the critical first and the warning will naturally resolve. Like while a cluster is status red, the SLM snapshot is warning that it's taking partial snapshots. So that is also protecting us and we really love it, but just resolving the critical is good enough to resolve both of those.
That's a really good call out. Thanks, Steph.
Thanks. I'm
All
ready.
right. Are we
Let's break
ready
it
to go break
live.
this? In
Yeah.
It's always my favorite part of the week. All right. The name of this document. Okay, so first, let's check allocation health just generally because this healthy with warnings, it really stresses people out. Your deployment and data could become unavailable. I love talking about this. It's one of my favorite topics. High availability. It's a stress reliever. It will bring you peace, happiness, and mindfulness in your life. High availability. You want to be able to have backups for your data. If a node goes down, don't worry. You have another node that has the same data. That's it.
Yep. It's a happy way to avoid this entire video conversation, right? But if you find yourself in this video conversation following that doc for diagnosing unassigned shards, do you mind if we go over to DevTools? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this cluster, we're going to go break. So currently it's cluster health grade. We're going to run through a couple of examples, just inducing problems and then afterwards coming back and looking at them. So our index for today is going to be called marshmellow. We may be creating and deleting it multiple times. It's going to be great. I don't think it exists right now, but let's find out. If it exists, let's delete it. It exists.
Oh
Let's
no.
delete it.
Do we have the delete command? Did we save that?
No,
We
we don't.
always miss. That's okay.
Delete marshmellow. How sad.
Bye, Marshmallow. Delete,
Bye,
delete, delete.
marshmellow. Perfect. Okay. So first example, um,
You know, such an
something that you may do temporarily but should not do long term. We're going to straight up disable allocation. just because it's an easy example. So line 13, we're going to update cluster settings. Routing allocation is none. And then line 18, let's try to create marshmellow again.
So enabled, none. Just in case you want to confirm. Put marshmellow.
So when an index create goes to run, it by default has wait for shards to be started. And because we disabled allocation, this command is going to take longer. And then eventually when it finishes, it will say like, oh, but I couldn't start up the shards, right? Which afterwards on line 6, we'll be able to run cat shards and just confirm that those shards are read. So it's a happy thing this command is taking such a long time. But that's a direct sign that maybe you did something, right? Okay, so line 3, shards acknowledged as false. So now if we run cluster health, we should be able to see we're either, I think we're status red. Yay, we broke it! Woo!
Status red, unassigned shards.
Unassigned shards, want. Okay, so line 6, if we run cat shards, we'll see that both of our shards are unassigned, just as Annie said. So now line 10, if we go run the cluster allocation explain. So we're going to keep just falling back to cluster allocation explain. It polls dynamically like at the time you poll. And so it's extremely helpful for finding current state of why things won't or will allocate. So our side, line 7 says the index created. That's happy. And then line 13 says, but Elasticsearch isn't allowed to allocate anything. And it says, look farther down to find out why. So line 14, node allocation decisions, that array. Let's just take that first node. And I think it's line 40. Yeah, line 40. It literally just tells us, hey, did you know that you overrode that setting that said don't? Want, right? So for our purposes, right? Like for our purposes, we're just gonna go undo that setting. So line 20 on the left-hand side, let's set it back to null. Okay,
All right.
so we're gonna override this. And then as soon as we do, right, like the allocation kicked off, so line 4, cluster health is already gonna say green.
Okay. It better. I hope.
Yeah, knock on wood. Okay, good. And then as Annie always likes to show people, line 10, right? Like we're going to run allocation explain and it's going to error on us, but it's a happy error, right? Status 400. Oh, sorry, what?
We love happy errors.
Yeah, we do. Status 400 literally says, hey, there wasn't anybody not green for me to go look up for you. Like generically, things are fine. If you want to know about a particular shard, go check that particular shard.
Yes. And this is another, common catch-all for people. They say, no shard was specified in the request. There's an illegal argument exception. And there's just so much stress. And really, it's just backhandedly complimenting you for taking care of your sharding.
You are complimented. Oh, Rogue One, where he's like, you are being rescued. Please do not resist. Like,
Yeah, I feel like this is exactly what's happening.
yeah.
Right.
Like, you are
Yes.
status green. Please be okay with that.
Yes. Okay. Bounding forward.
Yes. Okay. So the next example we want to do is going to cover maybe potentially you have historical noise. Do you mind if we just delete out section A so that our text shows higher up in DevTools? Yeah, line 12
Sorry.
down to line 26, like all of that.
Oh,
Yeah, we just want B to float up a little bit higher. Okay, section B. So now what we're going to cover is the potentiality of historical noise. So the example we're going to use here is maybe historically you were using ILM shrink. When ILM shrink goes to run, it needs to consolidate the primary shards onto a single node, so it sets require.id. And if that node is no longer in cluster, for example, our node ID on line 14 is asdf, right? That's not a valid node ID. So this is going to error on us. If that node's no longer in cluster, those shards can never migrate to a single location for that shard to progress. For our purposes, do you mind if we set that? We are going to close and reopen the index in order to get it to kick into status yellow that the replica cannot assign because it cannot assign to an invalid node ID. Yeah, can we run line 17 and 19?
Oh, yeah. We're
Thanks.
close. And we're
Perfect. Okay, let's go check our cluster health. We should be status yellow now.
This is so exciting.
Awesome.
So well.
And then can we run cat shards and we'll see primary is started, but replica is unassigned. I love it when
Where's
it does it exactly as I expect versus sometimes I'm like, oh, let's figure it out on the fly. Cool, troubleshooting. Yay.
was it that we did where every turn it was like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah. Like, I guess I don't know what I thought I knew. Let's run line 10.
Okay,
So we definitely
again,
know we just changed required ID. We know it's going to error that, but let's see how it looks. What
so
were you going to
index,
say?
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
just, I'm having a really good time today.
Yeah. So agreed. Reindex reopen, and it says no attempt because Elasticsearch cannot allocate. So again, that phrase highlights to us there is some configuration or setting problem, right? So we scroll down and find out what it is, and it tells us node does not match index settings, which is awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that's
exactly
perfect.
what I hope for if it's an ID of ASDF.
Yes.
Okay,
Can you
let's
imagine?
go prove the point. Line 21, let's set that back to null. And now when we run cluster health, we should be back to green again.
We're so fast, truly.
Yeah, we are. Okay, let's go delete out section B. So at this point, we've demonstrated two levels. Allocation health, you can be red, you can be yellow, you can be green. And that's based on the rollup of shards into indices into cluster. For the shards being started and therefore the index turns green and then all indices in green means the cluster is green, right? We've now shown a status red, we've now shown a status yellow. The final example we want to do, C, is going to cover when you are migrating data from like hot nodes to warm nodes, you can still be status green, but your shards won't necessarily be migrating into warm nodes as you expect. The example we're going to forge today is going to be historically before ILM, you would manually move nodes between the different node types via like by setting like a box type temperature. We are going to use that historical model also with ILM. So we're going to have two processes running in parallel, and they're going to end up conflating. And because they conflate, the shards are going to refuse to migrate. But we're still going to be status green. So
Okay.
it's going to be cool.
I like that we're forging and bounding through.
Cool.
Mm.
So in order to do this, again, index is marshmellow, but we're going to associate it to an ILM policy. So line 16, toasted s'mores is going to be our ILM policy, and all it does is send it from hot into warm. You have to set some action, so our action is set priority, but all it's going to do is migrate the data from hot to warm. It's not going to do anything else. So let's create toasted s'mores. Awesome. And then um, on line 14, can we just show like the node attributes that exist? I didn't actually set box type because for our example, it doesn't actually necessarily matter. Oh, line 8, we could use line 8 instead. We could say data is warm. Let's do that.
Okay.
On the left-hand side, line 29 that says box type, can we change just box type, not hot? Can we change just box type to the word data?
Yes.
Thanks. And then same thing on line 37. Awesome. Okay, so we have an ILM policy. And so the ILM policy is going to use the tier preference to move data from hot into warm. We'll see that here in a second. But we're going to make the system conflate with the node attributes. And even if the same box tier and node attribute are flagged for the same thing, our migration is still going to halt because we have those two systems running concurrently. So, sorry, do you mind scrolling up again? Line 27, let's put it up a little higher. Oh, I'm sorry, like scroll down, I guess. Yeah, thanks. So line 27, let's assign that node attribute to the index settings as well as associated to ILM. When we do that, that warm phase is going to take effect immediately. So we should see it here really fast. So line 33, let's go ILM explain. And it should be telling us we're in phase warm. Cool. Warm. So phase is warm. 2 lines down, action is migrate. 2 lines after, step is check migration. So if ILM is caught trying to migrate things, it's going to be a warm migrate check migration as the current ILM thing that's processing. And then as Annie's highlighting, line 18 ends up telling us it's waiting for that asynchronous allocation process to complete, right? So it should be migrating our data from hot tier over to warm tier. So we could wait patiently in case it's just migrating and we need to, you know what I mean, be patient. I'm not patient, as we all know. So instead, let's run line 40 and let's go check the replica shard for it migrating over to warm. Awesome. Okay, so this time it tells us on line 5, like we are status green, like that is started, right? But if we scroll down, line 30 ends up telling us can remain on current node is no. Like it thinks it wants to migrate and it thinks that it can't. The question, why can't it? Ha, exactly what we know will be, right? So line 35, oh, this is a hot node. So line 35 tells us the index wants to be on data warm. So can we scroll down to the warm node? It's the next one down. Yeah, line 47.
How embarrassing.
No, dude, that's literally how it goes. Okay, so we now know that the warm node is where we want to go to, and line 62 tells us why it thinks it can't go to the warm node. So, yep, so it ends up telling us like you manually set a filter to keep the warm node on the hot nodes from a node attribute. So even though the ILM tier preference updated to say send it to the data warm node, your attribute still says keep it on hot. Can we scroll down a little bit on the right-hand side? On the
Yeah.
right-hand side? Yeah, thanks.
I know, I was trying to highlight what you were talking about.
Oh, thanks. That's very
Honestly,
helpful.
like Vanna White, where I'm all look.
I love it. Okay, yeah. So, do you mind if we open the link on line 25 on the left-hand side real quick? And let's just discuss really quick for this example, like why that ends up coming into being. So ILM has 2 actions. It has allocate and it has migrate. So under the warm section, can you just highlight allocate and migrate? These steps are an ordered list. So these happen sequentially. So it's going to allocate and then afterwards it's going to migrate. Because of that, one of those is affecting the tier preference, and then afterwards, the other one is affecting the box type. So when we had the ILM policy say send it from hot to warm, we did not include an allocate step to say send it to warm. We just left it as was, so it kept staying on hot. Even if we had those 2 steps not happening together, can still end up leading to the data not necessarily migrating as you're expecting. So something to test before production and make sure that data flows how you're hoping. But just calling out a historical example. If we go back to DevTools, like because we, as Elasticsearch, highly promote ILM, highly recommend ILM, most of the situations support ends up seeing is, again, just historical noise, that customers forgot they had node attributes, usually in some stray template. And so some stray day, they're finally like, wait, like Who set that? Why did it set that? And the answer is 10 years ago, somebody before your time.
10
It
years
made
ago.
sense back then. It doesn't make sense today. So what we as support usually end up telling you is on line 35 to just remove the node attribute and let ILM take effect.
Wee! Sorry, I didn't ask for, you didn't say go, I just did. So I'm super
Go.
sorry.
It was great. I'm going to start saying we for go. Like, let's do it. And I
Sometimes
bet you a buck that ILM explain is now warm, complete, complete.
I don't want to take that bet because I
Why?
know.
But I don't actually know that for sure, Z's. I'm just a good guesser.
Fine, I'll take this bet and I know I'm gonna lose, but it's fine.
Thanks. She's only saying that to be nice because I owe her. Line 33. Scroll back down.
Sorry, I took this to a different place.
Very
Blue!
good.
What?
Oh, congrats, you won the bet. Boo.
I knew I was gonna win. Get
Obviously.
close to the chest, people.
Can we go run a cluster reroute?
Yeah, yeah, we can. Do we have
It's
our cluster
no, it's
reroute?
not in there. Just scroll to the bottom and start adding in a cluster reroute.
All right.
To be fair, I
Oh
don't
my gosh.
actually remember if I added.
Hold on. I have to remember the cluster reroute command.
Oh, it's post underscore cluster slash reroute.
Thank you. I forget it every time.
Yeah.
It's my least favorite command. Just kidding. We don't have. Um,
Yeah. Hit play on that. To be fair, I don't actually remember if I added two warm nodes. So this may still not work, but let's go check line 33 again. That output doesn't matter. It basically tells you about every single shard. All we care is that it's submitted. So line 33, let's go run ILM explain, see if it bumped it. If it didn't bump it, it didn't bump it. Okay, can we go check our deployment page? This is an unintended but excellent call out for people. We have two hot nodes. How many warm nodes do we have?
we have one warm.
Man, hey.
Steph, how dare you?
Well,
Oh,
I
she
I
ruined.
know why I lost that bet. Like, cool. Uh,
I didn't even check. I just blindly trust you. This is what I get.
I know. I'm sorry. That's okay. Let's go fix it. So again, in production, you would not do this. You would add in a warm node, but for our testing purposes, let's go update that to say number of replicas is 0. So put marshmellow slash under or put marshmellow slash underscore settings. Yeah, scroll back to the bottom. Sorry, can you scroll farther down so that people can see it? Thanks. Yeah, so put
Yeah.
space marshmellow. I hope so. Slash underscore settings. Enter, and then in the JSON,
And then,
index.
is it set?
No, it's index
Index.
inside of double quotes.
Gosh,
Good.
what am I missing? Index replica, right? Index underscore replica?
No, it's index dot number of
I don't,
replicas.
thank you.
Sorry,
Um,
I didn't mean to leave you hanging. I was waiting for you to
no,
to.
I can't remember anything off the top of my head with commands. I have like a
That's
whole,
okay. We may find when we go to hit submit, I never remember if you actually have to say index or not. So we're doing it on the fly. Let's hit play. Yay! Cool.
okay.
Let's go try our ILM explain now. I should have double betted. Ugh, fine. Hey,
Too
it's
bad
warm,
about making
complete, complete, just
video.
like I said it would be.
So she's talking about phase warm, step, action complete, step complete.
Yep,
It's warm, complete, complete.
yeah, perfect. Okay, so if we
And we
scroll back up to the top, again, cluster health on line 4 is going to be reporting cluster is happy, cluster is great.
no unassigned shards.
Yeah. Okay.
And we can just highlight now. Earlier, we had highlighted how we had marshmellow primary started and replica unassigned. And now we can clearly see there is no replica waiting for anything. It doesn't exist. It's a twinkle in Steph's eye.
Yeah, it is.
I just thought that would be fun to highlight. We can keep going.
I love it. Okay, so at this point, allocation help, we've covered how to troubleshoot live, both for status red, status yellow, and status green with trust issues, right? So general cluster health, we know how to troubleshoot when things are going well. The last question that you potentially may end up having is, as Annie started the call, if you log in Monday and find a status red, that's so concerning. I want to know as soon as it happens, right? Yeah. So if we can show on the deployment page, the first thing we did when we created this deployment was set up monitoring. So if we can show on the deployment page, scroll up under logs and metrics, we, for production, do not recommend self-monitoring. However, again, test deployment, this ship to deployment, I told it to send the data back to itself, which for us is lovely because now under dev tools, we can say, let's go look instead at stack monitoring.
You
Hamburger
are taking.
menu, scroll to the bottom. Yeah. Oh, I think
You're
you
all.
went one too far.
Oh my goodness, sorry.
No, you're
You're
good.
all
I
in.
do it every time.
Like what? I
Okay,
don't
so when
remember the.
we first click into stack monitoring, it's going to tell us, do you want to create rules? The answer is yes. Sure, migrate watches, I don't care. Okay, the reason we want to create rules is because some of those rules are literally for what status the cluster is in. So in the top right, where it says enter setup mode, blue bar or blue box thing, awesome. Elasticsearch overview has 3 rules. On the far left-hand side, Elasticsearch overview.
Did you want me to click in? Because I did. Sorry.
No, you're
I can go.
good. Sorry. If you can go back in that box, but the 3 rules. Yeah, click on that. Cluster health. Yeah,
Woo!
click on that, click on it again, and we can just hit enable or toggle disable so that it becomes enable. And then you can edit the rule if you want.
We can hit.
Yeah.
This is the first group. I'm like, that's not what this is.
Yeah.
All
Okay. So this alerts us about the different cluster health. If we can scroll down, it's checking over the last 1 hour. So by default, it's writing it to a Kibana log. Any production system, right? Like you're sending this to Slack or Teams or whatever your method is, right? Like email, but you want to be notified, right? Or sorry, you do not want to be notified. The on-call wants to be notified, but we don't want to be blindsided Monday morning.
And if you're both the on call and the you, we see you.
Yes, our condolences. It'll be great. It's only for the weekend.
Okay.
Awesome. So at this point, you would modify the action to be whatever destination. Sorry, if you scroll down farther, just showing the different connector, all the options you guys have, right? Pager duty, whatever it is you guys like. At that point, after modifying, you hit save and you're good. The next time your cluster goes red, you will be notified so that you can actually take action appropriately. And then the rest of the video that we just covered and highlight favorite command, allocation explain, you can troubleshoot, investigate, and resolve.
Yeah. And just remember, if you see a 400,
It
it's a
may
happy.
be happy.
Honestly, sometimes maybe it can't. So don't scare yourself, but stay on your toes.
Yeah, just
But
read the response body and see how it's going.
I should I shouldn't make those back-ended statements. Sorry.
I think it's great. Cool. Well, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Allocation help, super easy, just a couple of commands to run through. So,
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. This was fun.
yeah, thanks, Eddie. Have a good one, all.
Bye.